At America Trends, we only talk about what your social media says is trending. So let's get right back to it, America. First, remember to vote in the poll question. Which Trump child had the best speech at the Republican National Convention? Donnie Jr., Ivanka, Tiffany, or Eric? Wow, what a convention that was last night. Epic. Here to give us his thoughts is the former chairman of the California GOP. He's a Forbes columnist, the author of the book, The Divided Era. Tom Del Beccaro, good to have you back with us.
How are you? Great to see you.
We're doing great. Wow, was that a night last night?
It was, and what an extraordinary poll question. I don't think there's been a candidate in history that has a better set of kids and can be an asset to his campaign than what Trump has.
You know, I was thinking, that was my question, thanks. I can't ever remember a parade of kids that wasn't just a distraction or, hey, look, I have kids. You know what I mean? These kids, one was more extraordinary than the previous one. So what do you think? You answer the poll. Let's start with that, Tom.
Well, I think the one that's going to be most important to him is clearly Ivanka. She's the one who has to bridge the gap when it comes to the women voters. And she's capable of doing that. She's an extraordinary person. She's a working mother. And she has her own mind. And, you know, interesting enough, I'm watching her comments, and I'm sure you were as well. I mean, during the speech, she blurts out, you know, I don't just vote Republican. I vote for who I think the best candidate is, which is an extraordinary statement at a party convention. But I think she's the one who's going to be the greatest asset, and she has to be out there saying, look, here's the real Donald Trump. Don't believe the media.
You know, the one thing that grabbed me the most, Tom, about what she said, she was talking about women in the Trump organization. Yeah. And she said in executive positions, there's more women than men. There's 100% parity in pay. Yeah. And when they get pregnant, they're taken care of. I mean, talk about the progressive agenda. I don't understand how the Democrats can steal the women's issue in the employment workplace when Donald Trump, with no help from the law pushing him, is doing what every woman in America would want from an employer. Am I wrong?
Yeah, and keep in mind the White House and even Secretary Clinton are paying women less than men. So she needs to be the one going out and doing that. And Donald needs to talk big picture. Look, if Donald can drive the agenda, and what I mean by that is he's the one who has to set the table. He talks about being a law and order candidate. He's the one who's going to talk about economic revival. If he comes out over the next couple of months and he's the one pushing ideas and keep Hillary in reaction mode, then he can win. But quite frankly, if he does what he did today, which is talk about Ted Cruz, he should never mention Ted Cruz's name again. He should just talk about what he's going to do.
That was one of my questions. I was so disappointed this morning after last night, Tom. He stayed on script. He stayed on message. I thought it was a grand slam. There was a euphoria in the GOP last night. And then this morning, he went back to one of his stream of consciousness press conferences where it's personal and he's angry and he shows you that he's angry, but he says he's not angry, and people were polite and doing their best to be supportive, but it was a step backwards to the old Trump.
I agree. You think? He said in his speech, he used the word we many, many times. That's what he's got to do. We can achieve. You know, we can secure the border. We can put Americans back to work. Hillary's going to go out there and say, and be divisive. She's going to pit one group of Americans against another, which is the opposite of the word we, right? And so he needs to say, this is what we're going to achieve together. Forget the divisions. Just brush them off. Say, look, the greater goal is. Can he do that? I mean, that's Vegas should probably have a...
That's the billion-dollar question, because that's the election, yes or no, right there, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd like to see the Vegas odds and his capacity to do that. But he needs to drive the agenda. Remember, Romney took the lead after that debate and then sat on his lead. and didn't put out any new ideas. The reason why Reagan won is he got more specific month after month after month after the convention, and Carter was always in reaction mode. That's how Trump wins, and sticking with law and order. Because what's Hillary going to say? Oh, no, I'm going to be the law and order person?
No, I don't think anyone's going to buy it. Talk to me about the speech. What do you think was the biggest new thing from Trump that is an issue he can own? For me, the one that I really grabbed onto, he said it a bunch of times, I'm the law and order candidate.
Yeah. I gave an interview just a couple of minutes ago, and what I said was this. Every day that ISIS does something, that's good for Donald Trump. Every day, sadly, when either that or something happens with police officers, that's good for Trump. She has no answer to that. But he's got to supplement that with something super positive. And he's got to talk about how we're going to put people back to work just like I did. The only time Hillary ever employs someone is to hire government staff. So he's got to have this vision of an America that's going back to work. Remember, that speech wasn't to you. That speech wasn't to me. That speech was to Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, the Rust Belt. I can put you back to work. And so, yes, he's a law and order candidate, but the I can put you back to work is and putting out ideas like that, a more specific tax plan, those kind of things, that's how he's going to win.
All right, let's go back to what we started with. We sort of touched on it a minute ago. Tom, talk to me about Ted Cruz. His speech was bizarre. He didn't mention Trump other than to say Trump won. There was no endorsement. In fact, he almost seemed to suggest vote your conscience, as if that could include Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Was that a political suicide note to the American people, or do you see it differently?
Well, you know, Richard Nixon gave his checkers speech, and supposedly that was his suicide note, and then he went on to become president. And especially in this day and age, things move quickly. I'll tell you this. Here's a fact. Not a single candidate on the Republican side who ran in 2012 was successful this year. Not one. So if Trump wins, then Cruz, who's still a young man, can wait out 8 years and maybe people will forget. If Trump loses, then whoever runs against Cruz has got to say, look, Cruz, when we needed to win 4 years ago, Cruz didn't help us. And then point to somebody on the Supreme Court who's a disaster and say, look, Ted Cruz didn't help us. I don't understand this. This was an unforced error. He could have said, we need to do better as a country, and Hillary Clinton cannot be that road. So let's come together, just like Reagan did, and use the word we. So I think this is an unforced error, although in today's politics...
Real quick, Tom. Real quick, who wins? Trump, Clinton?
Today?
Yeah.
Thinking Trump can win. But you're going to talk to me again, and we'll see how things change.
All right, I'll take the Trump victory. Thanks, Tom. We'll see you again soon, buddy.
I hope so.
We're going to be back more America Trends coming up, and please go vote in our poll. Let us know what you are thinking. We want to hear from you.